everybody, it's Jess here with Bless Jess. Thank you so much for watching and welcome to another video. This is actually a bonus video. So normally I post every single day, but I'm throwing in a bonus because today is a collab and I didn't want to disrupt my normal weekly pattern of uploading when I upload. So I am so excited to do this video and to talk about autism. So this is going to be a Q&A video. I asked you guys for some questions and you gave me so many good ones. So this collab is headed up by Sarah Powell and her channel is Pancakes and Pandemonium. You definitely should go subscribe to her. I will have her information linked down below. And there's other ladies that are doing this video too, other autism mamas, and I mean, what better wealth of information can you get than, you know, by mamas telling you about their kids. Some of them are informational. I think some are going to be like more activity based and just a lot of good information and fun. So make sure you go check out that if you're interested. But I was trying to decide when she asked me to do this collab, like what should I do? Because I have talked about autism a good bit on my channel and y'all all love and cheer on Nate so much and it just warms my heart. So I thought maybe you had some questions and like you would have feedback for me on some things I could talk about. And then when I got the stack of questions, I was just like, okay, this has to be a Q&A. So I'm very happy to bring this video to you guys. Today is World Autism Day. If you're watching this on Saturday, April 2nd, and autism is something that I didn't know a lot about before I had Nate and before I married my brother before I married David, and his brother has autism, and you know, I've learned about it since then. But growing up I didn't really know about autism, and so if you're kind of like that, the only reason I know about it is because it's in my life. But I think autism awareness is becoming more and more prevalent. So I'm very happy to do this video. Just a little heads up, this is just my opinion. I am not trained. I am not a doctor. I'm not an autism expert. I'm an expert at Nate. And everybody on the spectrum is different, has a different story, has all different everything. So it's not like a one size fits all. So take that with a grain of salt. This is just our experience, our journey with our son. So I'm going to drink some coffee while we answer some questions, and it's so hot and yummy. And these are in no random order. They're just as you guys asked them. So, and I just realized that it doesn't print out the whole entire question, so I'm sorry about that. When I printed them, it like cuts them off a little bit, but I'll do my best to answer as many as I can and kind of read between the lines of what you guys are asking. Okay, Melissa Bruyere, I hope I'm saying her name right. She is so sweet. She said that she has a 4-year-old son on the spectrum and we are having a really hard time with potty training. Any advice or tips that work for your little guy? Y'all, let me just say, I want to do a whole video on this because Nate and potty training and that whole experience was some of the worst times of my life. And I'm not just being dramatic. It was so stressful. It was horrible. I cried and cried and cried. We tried literally every single thing you can try. I've tried everything. It consumed my whole life for years. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I look back and I think I wasted a lot of time worrying and crying and all of that. Like it really wasn't as big a deal as I made it. And so that's my biggest advice is, okay, when you have a child with autism, and this is just what I've learned, it's a very sensory feeling. It's a very sensory experience. And a lot of times autistic kids have sensory issues. And so that whole process of going to the bathroom is very hard sometimes, and learning how to do it in the potty it's a big deal. And patience, calm down. Like I promise you they will get it. It just may take them longer to get it. So where we are now, Nate is 9, he's almost 10. He completely goes to the bathroom 100% by himself. Sometimes though he does have accidents, and when I say accidents, they're not full blown like I just pooped my pants kind of thing or peed my pants. He will have a little drip of pee hit his pants. Well, they all have to come off. He has to go get new underwear. He has to, like, it's a very sensory feeling for him to have anything wet on him at all. And so we just let him handle that. He takes care of changing himself, like taking his clothes off, putting it on. He wipes himself. Every now and then I'll have to help him if it's a really bad one or something. I'll come in there and help him wipe, but most of the time, like, he takes care of it. And I never thought, I could cry, I never thought that we would be here, because for years I started potty training him right before he turned 3. I should have waited. It was way too early for him. But pretty soon, I want to say pretty immediately, he started not wearing pull-ups and not wearing anything at night. Like, he just wore underwear at night. He has never once, now this is strange, he has never once had an accident at night, ever. Like, since he was before 3. He just really learned how to hold it. I'm not sure if he didn't want to get his clothes wet, what would happen, but he never has had an accident. So we had that down, which is a big win. And I should have taken that big win and been calm about the rest of it. I just had so much like society pressure, and not from any one person, but just like, I felt like he needs to be potty trained and he needs to get this. And I think he felt my energy of like, like, you have to get this. And so what would happen is he would hold it. He would hold his poop. It was just a whole thing. I went to the doctor, you know, they would prescribe laxatives and stuff to get him to go. Well, then he would go, but it would hurt because he held it so long. And so that would make it worse. And it was just, I think if I had just chilled, if I had just relaxed, it would have gone better. I will say a few things that helped us, because he started potty training around 3. It was probably till he was 6 or 7 before we actually got it down. It's hard. He was wearing pull-ups. Like, I wouldn't put him in pull-ups when we went to like school or anything, because they knew how to handle autistic kids in his school and they would work with him. But if we went to church where there was people caring for him that didn't understand his exact needs, I would just put him in pull-ups. And this went on until he was like at the very end of pull-ups. And I was thinking, well, we're gonna have to go to like adult diapers or something. It was really hard. A few things that helped us is social stories. I put a social story on the bathroom wall, and it was like step by step. When you have to go to the bathroom, number 1, you know, pull your pants down. It would show like a little figure of pants or something. And then number 2, you know, sit on the potty. Number 3, go to the bathroom. And it was very detailed. Everybody that came to our house was probably like, oh my. It was very, very detailed. And it walked through washing his hands, all of it. And that seemed to help to some extent. What I wish I had done different is I wish I had just let it go. Like, just realize it's going to take him a little bit longer and to relax. And I think he would have gotten it a lot better. Like, I remember sitting with him on the potty. Like, I would sit in the floor, he would sit on the potty, and he would sit there. And I wouldn't like necessarily make him sit there, but we kept thinking like the more he sits there, the more like he'll get used to sitting there. So he would like read a book or whatever, sitting on the potty. And we just sat in the bathroom a lot. Like, I just feel like that didn't help at all. So I think the social story helped. I think positive reinforcement helps autistic kids way more than negative. So he didn't care anything about like the sticker charts, the candy charts. If your kid does, that maybe Lucy, that she was all about like M&Ms or whatever when she went to the bathroom, but Nate didn't care. But if we like had a dance party, if he did, or something like that, and if he had an accident, I really tried to just be like, okay, let's change you. Next time, let's try to go in the potty, and just keep it really, really light. But it's hard. It is so hard. And I'm sending you all the love, all the hugs. I know that's a really long-winded answer, but I promise you, he will get it. It is hard when you're in the moment. I'm on the other side of it, and I promise you, it will just take time, and it's not the end of the world. Like, we all have been through it as moms. Things, you know, that may take your kid longer, and potty training is a big deal, but there is hope. It will happen. And maybe I should do a whole video on this, because I feel like that was really all over the place. Sunny Side Up Egg said, when Nate was diagnosed with autism, how did you find out or think something was different? And then it keeps going, but again, it cut off. So I have a whole autism story. I will link down below, like how he got diagnosed, the signs we noticed. If you want like a more detailed explanation, you can go check out that. The biggest thing for us is we realized when he was 1, 2, like the end of 1, is we realized that he was not very socially aware. Eye contact was a big thing. He talked, that's the thing that kind of made me think, well, he doesn't have autism, is because he talked a lot. But it was very like rehearsed talking. It was very like repeating stuff, repeating shows. He was so smart. He taught himself how to read when he was 2. Like, there were so many things that he was amazing at that it was really easy to not see all of them. Like, we kind of, I think, didn't want to see the bad stuff when we were first-time parents. And so I feel like around 2, we kind of knew there was something going on. It took a while to get him actually diagnosed. And if you're in the process of that, maybe it's easier now. It's been almost 10 years. Well, it's been like 7 years or something since he was diagnosed, but it was a very long waiting process to get in with the right clinic and get him diagnosed and stuff. So that whole process took a while. But I would say that the biggest thing is we just didn't see a lot of back and forth, and not necessarily words, but just like attention. If I said, look, Nate, look over here, look at this bird, like, he would not look. And that was like something I really thought, this isn't normal. Like, I feel like most babies, but then I also had people tell me, like, he's a boy, you know, he's active. He was very, very active. So then we thought, well, maybe he'll grow out of it, you know. So that was the biggest thing, not being able to like have a conversation. It was just all like very repeated words. Okay. Bree says, how does Nate do in church? Do you have any ideas on or tips on how to keep him entertained without distracting others? Do you think he comprehends and understands a relationship with God? And then she went on, but it got cut off. So I'm sorry, Bree, but that's a really great question. So church has been hard this year, especially has been really hard. Let me tell you a little backstory on our church journey. When Nate was little, I would say 5 and under, it was really easy to put him in the preschool class. You know, kids in there aren't necessarily potty trained. They're, you know, lots of different activity levels, and it's almost like babysitting. You know, I mean, they would do a little lesson with him, but it wasn't like he was expected to sit in a church service. And we went to a really small church in Georgia, and the people there just loved him, and he would just stay in the preschool. He would pretty much just stay with Lucy. And so even though the class was for like 3-year-olds, up until he was like 5 or 6, he stayed in there because it was just too hard to move him to the big kids class. It was a totally different, like, sit down, you know, the people at the age group in there is just not conducive to Nate. And so it was really easy until he got bigger to just put him in there. They would kind of babysit him. I could enjoy church, or I did children's church a lot of times and he would be with me, or I would be in youth group with David. Like, we did Wednesday night, we did Sunday morning every single week. And I think that is a good tip, is to be consistent. Like, we value having a scheduled service. Like, we think it's important for our kids to be in church. Like, there's never a week that we're like, oh, let's just not go to church today. Like, it's very important to us. The problem came in once we moved back to Alabama, all during COVID. You know, it's crazy. I also had a baby during there. And so, you know, church was crazy for a while. Everybody was at home, and he kind of got out of the routine of going to church. Plus, he got a lot bigger, and it wasn't as easy to just put him in the nursery because now he's way too big. We can't have him running over little kids. And he would not, I'm just telling you, he would not go into children's church he could go into children's church, but he would have to have like me go with him. And even when I go in with him, it sometimes doesn't work out. The amazing thing came when we started going to this church in Alabama only for like 3 or 4 months before we moved here. And we were just like attending. We weren't on staff. David was in the process of finding a new church, but it was this amazing big church. And I think big churches have more resources sometimes. And they had a special needs program. And for the first time in Nate's entire life, I could cry. I was not going to cry on this video. He had a church experience. It was catered to him. People in there were trained to work with him. And for the first time, I dropped him off, and I wasn't scared of what was going to happen. Like, I knew that he was in good hands, and he loved it. He loved it. He looked forward to it. And I felt like for the first time, like, maybe he could have like a God-like experience. You know, maybe God could speak to his heart, because this is perfect. But then we moved, and, you know, we want to start something like that here at our church, but it's a very big endeavor. It is like, it's hard to, I mean, like, they had a lot more resources and stuff. And you need people that are trained. It's more than just like a kid's church. So what we do now, I'm going to stop crying. What we do now is some weeks I go into children's church with him. The problem with that is children's church is very high energy. It's very, you know, pumped up. And that can be very overstimulating for Nate. You know, we wear the headphones. I think that is a great tip. Pretty much whether we're in children's church or adult church, Nate's wearing headphones. And that really helps like minimize the sound. Our pastors are so amazing. Like everybody knows Nate. And so they know if I like get up and walk out, it's because Nate needs to get up and walk out. Another great thing we have at our church is a family room. So if ever he gets overstimulated, wherever we are, it's a quiet room we can go in. The service is streaming in there so we can still watch the service, but it's quiet. There's some little toys in there and stuff. And that has been very helpful. So some weeks we go into children's church, but some weeks if I know like he's already overstimulated and church hasn't even started, we will go into the big church. We'll go into the main service where, you know, David's leading and stuff. I have found that it's a little more softer in there. Like, you know, there's not screaming kids and stuff. And so Nate usually does better. Now, some tips that help me make it through service, or at least make it through most of service. I bring snacks. Snacks are amazing. So what I do is I like just hand him like 1 or 2 goldfish or a Cheez-It or something, and I make it last as long as possible, because if he's chewing then he can't yell as easily, and he's not going to just run off because he wants those snacks. The other thing we do is I let him, sometimes he'll bring like an electronic device. That is very few and far between though, because he doesn't like to like, the headphones he has doesn't connect to that. And we've tried those like electronic headphones, but he doesn't like those as much. He just likes to unplug everything and listen to it really loud. So I try not to let him bring anything like that. Sometimes he'll play with a calculator on my phone or play with my Libby app. So it's a library app where you can get books on your phone, like through your library. And so I'll check him out a few books and he'll read those while we do church. Sometimes he just sits in there and just soaks it in and he's in a great mood. It's hard. Church has been hard. And the hardest part for me is David's on staff. And so I don't want people to think that when I'm just not at church, like, or if I have to walk out after we've been there for 2 minutes, it's because I don't want to be there. I totally do. And, you know, we have to miss events sometimes if like there's a, you know, dinner after church or whatever, and Nate is done. Like, we don't stay for that. Like, I try not to push him beyond what he can handle. And I think that is my biggest tip. Like, you know, they're your kid. And if you're in a similar situation, like, you know, not to, that I don't feel like that's the time to like test the boundaries of like where if they're done, you know, and I want church to be a positive experience. And so we just do the best we can. It is hard. I miss the days of having that special class for him, but I know we went through that. We went through that season to learn something. And so I'm hoping eventually, you know, we can start something like that at our church. It's just going to be a process and yeah, a long process of training, and it's just a big undertaking, but it was really, really special. I am going really, this is going to be like a 5-part video. I am so sorry, you guys. Oh, Lord. Okay. Jennifer Davis says, does he receive any services like occupational therapy? You mentioned he gets some assistance at school, but I wasn't sure if he received outside services. Okay. So when Nate was 3, we ended up having therapy for him at our house. Like, it wasn't part of the school system. It was at home. That did not work for us. It was terrible. It was very stressful for him to be at home having therapy. It was very disruptive into our life. We all hated it. And I mean, if it was good for Nate, I would have kept doing it. But Nate hated it. Nate doesn't like me to be like hovering around him, but it's hard not to when they're in our home. And it was just really stressful. So pretty soon after that, he started school. He started preschool, and they offered to do services at school, and it was just a game changer. Nate did so much better. It wasn't disruptive. At this time, Lucy was a baby, so it was really hard to have him in the home as much. And so we have always just advocated for him to have therapy at school. He's in a learning mode. He's in a, like, it's just, it works better at home. He wants to do his own thing, you know, and it's harder to get him in that area. I don't know what that noise was. Like, something just whistled at me. But anyway, So he gets occupational therapy and speech therapy at school, and he gets it several times a week. I think the occupational is once a week or something like that, and the speech therapy is a couple times. And we just found really good success with that. So you can get outside therapy. I know there's places you can take them to. That was another thing I really just hated, to like eat into like time where he can just be a kid. Like some people put their kids in it. If it works for them, that's what's amazing, is you can do whatever works for you. But sometimes you put your kids in therapy outside of school, and then it's like they have school, then therapy, and then they get home and it's like, well, they don't ever have a chance to be a kid. So for right now, that works for us. He gets his therapy at school, and if it needs to change at one point, I am totally open to that. But the school is amazing. Like the people that has worked with him, it's been amazing for him, and he just really loves school, and so it's just a good fit. Okay, I'm gonna do just a couple more, and then we're gonna have to do like a part 2. Katie has some really good questions. She did at Katie Robson said, what are some of the signs Nate was showing with autism? I already answered that question, but she also said best way to support a child with autism, and if you could give your younger self one bit of advice, and then it cuts off, but I can kind of get what she's saying. How to support a child with autism is just to treat them like a normal child. Like I feel like Nate is a normal child, and so I appreciate when people are very thoughtful and think about like him, and you know, try to prepare for him, and you know, and that is amazing too. But at the end of the day, he's a 9-year-old boy, you know, and he wants a lot of the same things 9-year-old boys do. So I really appreciate when people try to talk to him, even if he doesn't talk back, he's listening, being really positive around him. Even like I've had people say like, well, what can you do if, you know, he's having a meltdown or whatever? I would just say stay calm. Like kids can sense, every kid can sense your energy. And so when they're having a meltdown, if you can just breathe and stay calm, that really helps. And just, if you know an autistic child, this is just my advice, talk to their parents and say like, you know, how can I best support you? And what can I do for your child? If, you know, if you have a certain situation, like the parent knows their kid the best, and they're the best source of information, and they will be so honored that you thought of that. But yeah, they're at the end of the day, they're just kids. They're normal kids. They just have a different way of communicating. They have a different way of thinking, but it's not bad or wrong. It's just different. And then if I could tell my younger self a piece of advice, I would just say to relax because, you know, when Nate was diagnosed, it was terrifying. Like I didn't know what was going to happen with our life, and I just felt so much fear, and I still will go down that road sometimes. But I really just try to relax and know that God is in control. God made Nate in his image, and he is perfect, and I want to be the best mom to him I can be. And, you know, fretting and worrying is not being a good mom. It's taking away being a better mom for him. And so I just try to relax. And I just wish I could tell my younger self like it was all going to be okay, and that Nate is amazing and I don't have anything to worry about. One more and then we're going to stop because this is getting so long. Oh man. Okay, so Carson McGrady Smith, I'm so sorry. I read your question though, and I kind of remember it, but it cut off a ton of it. She said that her little guy, I don't know if this is, Carson, I don't know if you are male or female, so I'm just going to say that their little guy just got diagnosed and right now is evaluated at a mild or moderate on the spectrum. I've been told that this can shift depending on how things change in the next few years. So she's talking about like when you get diagnosed, I don't even know if they still do this, honestly. They give you like a grading scale, like, oh, they're mild autism, they're moderate autism, they're severe autism. And then like they tell you, like she said, like it can change, like they could go down the spectrum or they could go up the spectrum. I've actually seen a lot of things that talk about this is very harmful to label kids like that. So I don't even know if they still do it. I want to say we did get told Nate was like mild or moderate. Hold on. Yeah, it was about to cut me off because I was going so long. But my biggest advice is just not to worry about the scale. It can make you crazy. Like, you know, I don't know that it's helpful to tell a parent like they're very severe autistic, you know, or they're high functioning, low functioning. it's hard to hear that. I mean, maybe you should hear it and just so you know how to better treat them. And maybe that's for like professionals to be able to like categorize them and know what they can do to treat them. But this is the thing, like every single person on the autism spectrum is different. And I think saying like, well, he got worse, he got better, it's just really hard to deal with. And so I try not to think about that. Like if Nate is mild, moderate, whatever, like he is what he is. I just want to support him the best I can. And I want to have goals for him and have the professionals have goals for him that is going to help him grow. Whether that means he takes a step back, it takes a step forward. Sometimes like all kids do, like we all have ebbs and flows. And so my advice is just not to worry about it too much. I try not to think about the scale and the grade, like when you have your kids go to school and like I get told all the time, like, well, he didn't meet his goal in this academic thing and he did meet, you know, he is advanced in this area, but all of these areas he's not meeting his goal in. It can be hard to hear that. And so I try not to think about that a lot. Yes, Nate has difficulties testing and stuff. And so like I know that everybody that works with him knows that. That doesn't help me to like meditate on that. So we do the best we can to help him, but not like obsess about where he is on the spectrum and just like celebrate Nate, if that makes sense. But anyway, I know this video is really, really long. I'm going to just go ahead and do a part 2 because you guys have so many good questions that I don't want to leave anybody out. And also if you have a kid that has autism and you would like somebody to talk to, like just send me an email. Like I would be happy to pray with you or to help you. I feel like unqualified to help you, but if you just need somebody to vent to or listen to or ask what we did, I mean, I know everybody's different, but I do not mind at all. Send me an Instagram message or a Facebook message or email me, and I'd be happy to do that for you guys. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching this video. Everybody, you guys are just amazing for wanting to learn about autism, and especially on today, like I just feel so honored that I can share about our journey. And if I can help anybody else, like it just makes me feel like we didn't go through this for nothing. Every hard time, everything you're going through right now, if you're going through a hard time with your child, it is a learning opportunity and it will strengthen you. It will make you stronger. And your kids are not a mistake. Like God made them in his image, like I said, and they are perfect. And they're just different. They think different. They learn different. They have things that they learn and do better because of their autism, you know, but they also have their difficulties. And as a parent, you can just celebrate the wins and work on the difficulties and just be the best parent you can be. So I love you guys so much. If you like the video, definitely subscribe, like it, comment, all the things, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.